We're live. Today is March 22nd, 2016. We're going to talk about what may unfold tomorrow. Tom, quick question for you. What's a better chance that Minneapolis is going to get a foot of snow or that the Twins are going to win the World Series next year?
Twins are going to win the World Series.
Or that the Timberwolves will make the playoffs some year in the next 10 years.
Yeah, well, I think that will happen with the Twins. But now, you know what? I don't think there's any chance that at least MSP International gets a foot of snow. Just no way. Sharp gradient. We've been talking about this for a while, Bill. But a sharp gradient of snow is going to develop right over the metro. The northern metro may not even receive a flake. That'd be people in Anoka, northern Anoka County, northern Wright counties, people up in St. Cloud, probably getting nothing out of this. And then, of course, Dakota, Scott counties, and then further south from there, we're talking 8, 9, 10 inches of snow, especially southern Dakota, southern Scott counties, and then, of course, going into the Rochester metro areas. So
Rochester might be ground zero?
I think Rochester is going to be ground zero, probably close to a foot in the Rochester area. And then, of course, that will extend east into Wisconsin. So a good chunk of Wisconsin is going to get hit hard also. The I-90 corridor, Bill, in southern Minnesota, if you're traveling down in that direction, traveling south on 35W out of the cities, that's going to be a mess starting at about noon tomorrow and lasting through about noon Thursday. So suspend travel over that portion of the state and into Wisconsin. I-94 heading east, southeast into Wisconsin out of the cities. It's going to be a nightmare Wednesday, especially Wednesday night and Thursday morning.
Is there any chance that the storm, particularly in northern Iowa, could collapse, such as the basketball team did?
Well, I do think that northern Iowa, especially as you get towards Mason City, some thunderstorms may develop, and that could zap some of the snow totals there, and even some ice may develop in northeastern Iowa. So yeah, I mean, I wouldn't call it collapsing, but definitely some warm air is going to play a role in whether that rain changes to snow.
Yeah. And I just decided to go with the sports analogies today, Tom.
So I see that. I see that.
Some information to show us here.
Yeah, I do. Let's just get right to it, Bill. So here's the infrared satellite loop. The reason why I'm showing you this is because look at all the cold cloud tops, not only over the Rocky Mountains where it's snowing heavily in Montana and northern Wyoming, and then that snow will be extending south into Colorado. But now look at this moisture that's streaming up out of the central portion of the United States and into southern Minnesota already. Now, no precipitation yet out of these clouds, but rest assured, this is indicative of strong moisture surge now developing in the middle layers of our atmosphere. And this is really going to set the tone for precipitation, Bill, to break out as we head into tomorrow morning, probably around sunrise in southern Minnesota. And then that precipitation eventually moves into the Twin Cities, especially the southern Twin Cities, as we head into the early afternoon. And look at radar, Bill. Upper Midwest radar, already rain and snow breaking out over South Dakota. So this is the moisture that's going to continue to move east into southern Minnesota. And that, once again, is going to spell rain at first, maybe even a touch of freezing rain in some areas, but mostly rain at first in southern Minnesota, and then gradually changing over to snow during the morning and early afternoon hours from about the Twin Cities on south. Why am I concerned about this storm, Bill? Well, of course, that jet stream.
Why are you concerned about the storm, Tom?
Well, the jet stream, Bill. We know how important that jet stream is. And what we're looking at right now is here's this storm system. There's the buckle in the jet stream over the Rocky Mountains. That's why you're seeing all those cold cloud tops and snow falling over the Rockies right now. And watch what happens to this buckle in the jet stream, what we call a trough. It actually deepens and intensifies over Nebraska, Iowa, and southern Minnesota as we head into tomorrow evening. This is at about 10 o'clock tomorrow evening. This is an impressive storm system by that time. And it's going to be gulping up moisture out of the Gulf of Mexico and throwing it over a cold dome of air that's going to be sitting over Minnesota. Hence, that's going to be our snow system. And then, of course, it pushes off to the east as we head into Thursday. Now, radar. This is future radar, Bill. And we're looking at the NAM 4K high-res model guidance, okay? This is what we're seeing at about 10 o'clock this evening. You can see the precipitation breaking out over South Dakota. Now watch what happens as we head into the early morning hours. Still quiet at around 3 or 4 a.m. in southern Minnesota, just a few sprinkles, perhaps maybe a little bit of light freezing drizzle, but mostly liquid. But watch what happens as we head into later tomorrow morning. This is at about 9 a.m. Moisture surging north into southern Minnesota, and right at about this time, some of this rain may change to snow. So again, that's at about 9 a.m. tomorrow morning. And then needless to say, that moisture just continues to increase over southern Minnesota during the day, and then here come the thunderstorms, Bill. This is some serious news, especially for people in the Rochester area, because these thunderstorms that develop tomorrow afternoon and evening in western Iowa are going to move northeast into southeastern Minnesota, so that by about 10 or 11 in the evening tomorrow night, people in Rochester, La Crosse, Albert Lee, they may be hearing thunder with their snow tomorrow evening, later in the evening. And then that snow, as you can see, even by about 10 or 11 o'clock, reaching into the southern Twin Cities metro, and then finally starting to pinwheel away and ending by about sunrise tomorrow morning.
I assume you have some accumulation graphics to throw up there?
Well, we do, and this is what is the big headache. I'm going to give the bad news first, or at least bad news for snow lovers. This is the European model guidance. And last night we showed this, Bill, but it's happening again this evening. Look at where it's got the snow. It keeps it contained to the extreme southeastern corner of Minnesota, so that basically the plowable snow would be from Rochester on south and east. Not even a flake over much of the Twin Cities metro. Now, this is the European model, Bill. You know, I do rely on this model quite a bit, but I also feel that these American models have just a little bit better grasp on this system. And it shoves the accumulating snow about 50 to 100 miles further north, which makes a huge difference. So watch what happens. This is as we go through the day tomorrow. Here it is by about, we're talking at about, let's say 3, 4 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. You can see snow already accumulating, especially over the southern Twin Cities metro. Those amounts are in the 2 to 3 inch range over the southern metro. And then watch what happens as we go through time tomorrow evening. The snow really picks up late afternoon and evening, so that much of southern Minnesota, about the southern third of Minnesota, gets at least a half a foot of snow by sunrise on Thursday. And if you believe this model guidance, Bill, and again, this is the 4K high-res NAM American computer model, it shows 6 to 10 inches over Scott and Dakota counties in the Twin Cities, southern Twin Cities metro, and then hardly a flake in the northern metro. That would be Anoka County and Wright County. So,
Tom, one of the things I like from the Capital Weather gang, you may be aware of, is they'll do a forecast. They'll give the prediction, and then they'll do a boom and a bust scenario. So I'm assuming for, say, the airport, Minneapolis airport, obviously the bust scenario is that it very, very little. And I'm assuming, tell me what you would predict and what you would put as the very outside boom scenario.
Okay, well, bust scenario, I think for the Twin Cities is fairly high.
No, not the percentage, but what that would look like, actually. You know, I mean, a bust for Minneapolis would be no snow at all, probably, right?
Right, yeah, no, that's definitely possible.
Yeah.
You know, we're going to have to watch the radar closely tomorrow morning, Bill, because if that initial band of snow sets up down in Rochester and near the Iowa border, then I'm going to be crying bust with this storm system, especially for the Twin Cities metro. But if that band of snow tomorrow morning, or precipitation, rain and snow, sets up near or just south of the Twin Cities, so meaning about 50 to 100 miles further north than the Iowa-Minnesota border, then it looks really good for heavy snow, especially in the southern metro. But I'm really concerned, Bill. The European model has not budged. It has kept that snow band well south of the Twin Cities, and that is concerning. That tells me that
the American model has sagged a little bit.
No, not much. This is what's so confusing about this whole scenario. Usually you get a consensus, especially as you get this close to the onset of a storm, okay? That hasn't happened with this storm system. The models have stayed clear and true to what they were predicting 2-3 days ago. And they're not budging, and that's a big problem. And it's still got the National Weather Service on edge because they haven't turned the watch that they have for the Southern Twin Cities Metro into a warning yet.
Yeah.
And we're within 24 hours of the storm system hitting, and they still haven't turned it into a warning. That tells me that they're on the edge, and they just don't know where to go yet until we get some consensus between those two models. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolute sense. Yep.
Okay. Hey, we got to show one more map, Bill.
Yep.
All right, here it is. Hot off the press.
It's never warm off the press. It's always hot.
It's hot. This one's hot. I've been holding off a little bit on the snow totals on at least my predictions, but truthfully, if I would have put something out yesterday or the day before, I think it would have been something similar to this because, as I said, the models just haven't wobbled very much, Bill. They've stayed true. So I think this snow total is going to be pretty close. I'm feeling confident with this, especially if the American models verify, okay? So here we go. Sharp gradient across the Twin Cities Metro from about a coating in Wright and Anoka counties, and that probably will melt right away, so you won't even notice that it's a coating of snow, to about 2 to 5 inches in the downtowns.
So we'll give 3.5 for the airport, huh?
Well, and then I'm thinking more like 5, maybe for the airport.
Oh, really? That much?
Okay, yep. So, and then as you get into the southern metro, maybe in that 6-7 inch range. Okay, that would be Dakota and Scott County. And then immediately as you go south of there, from about Cannon Falls down to close to Rochester, I think 8 inches to a foot of snow. And then there you see that bullseye. It's a narrow band of heavy snow, but from about Rochester to just south of Eau Claire and north of La Crosse, that's where I think the bullseye is going to be for heavy snow. So Rochester, you know what, I won't be surprised if 11, 12, 13 inches of snow falls in Rochester. Now, the National Weather Service has said this, Bill, and I think this is very important to remember. When you get snow, especially this time of year, it's heavy, it's wet, it's concrete like slush, right? Well, imagine that stuff. Imagine a foot of that on tree branches and power lines. We can get power outages. I don't think there's any doubt that that's going to happen over portions of southeastern Minnesota. So just be prepared for not only difficult driving conditions, especially in the Rochester area, but for power outages and just all in all a difficult time with the heaviness of this snow.
Tom, at times like this, I think California's not so bad.
Yeah, well, boring though, right?
Yeah.
Hey, listen, when you can go from 70 degrees plus, which it was, what, a week, 2 weeks ago, beautiful sunshine, 70 degrees, to a snowstorm and 30 degrees, to me, that's exciting. That's why I love living up here. And that's the reason, Bill, I will always live up here.
Tom, baseball practice, 78 degrees, get in the car 3 hours, go skiing, and 6, 8, 10 feet of snow.
Good for you. Listen, this kind of weather, I've always said it keeps the riffraff out, Bill.
That's why I'm gone. All right, Tom, we'll wrap it up, and we'll see what comes of it.
All right, William. Take care tonight.
Yep. Take care,
Bye-bye.
Tom. Bye-bye.